I am absolutely going to testify. I won't even say his name. He is an evil being and is going to pay.
I think that I was just, living in this shame, living in all this sort of stuff of my past, and I wasn't able to move on. It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second.
Combs allegedly planned and controlled the sex performances, which he called freak-offs, and he often electronically recorded them. The freak-offs sometimes lasted days at a time.
The courtroom went silent. In a second, Diddy's composed exterior broke down. His jaw was locked, his fists clenched, and his vibe changed. The moment Justin Bieber's name was called, the anxiety increased. At this point, Diddy lost it. Diddy lost his composure just hours after learning that Bieber had publicly supported Cassie. Even the judge was surprised by what transpired as security hurried in.
Do you think the person that the you of then was on a path of self-destruction?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%. Yeah. It would have been no bueno. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive, for sure. It was dark. So I'm very, very grateful to have influences in my life that have played a huge part in me seeing their relationship with Jesus and their relationship with their wives and their relationship with their kids and saying that's what I want. But I want to definitely tell my story so that if that resonates to anybody, that they can hopefully. But yeah, just protecting those moments, because people take for granted encounters and
I feel violated right now. Wow.
Just lean into me again. You smell amazing. How old are you?
Thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 16. I'll be 17 in like 2 weeks.
I don't ever remember smelling that good at 16. Like that was bad.
Yeah.
Wow, look at your eyes. Look at what a beautiful...
Bieber turned 15, and it suddenly seemed that Hollywood was keen to almost initiate him. I think that's the right word. Like there was almost like this initiation that he needed to go through. So I want you to be now super uncomfortable and watch this video of an interaction between him and none other than Diddy. Take a listen.
Justin, you ever seen the movie For the Times of Their Lives? Like, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I have been given custody of him. He signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So and we gonna go full.
Young Justin Bieber, who was signed by Usher, involved with Scooter Braun. Now all of a sudden he's being put in the hands of Diddy, who, it is true, he became the legal guardian for Usher. You can look up all of the allegations of what Diddy did. The allegations are essentially that Diddy very much initiated Usher. As we are going through these lawsuits and Diddy is in prison, we are recognizing that everybody knew this was an open secret about what Diddy was doing. So it just begs the question, who allowed Justin Bieber to be in the presence of this man, knowing what he was up to, allegedly up to? That seems to be very clear.
There was a strange silence at the start of day 2. Wearing confidence like armor, Diddy walked in with his well-groomed legal team at his sides. But his eyes, which darted about the room as if he was waiting for someone to emerge from the shadows, betrayed him behind those high-end shades. And safety? It wasn't commonplace. Additional guards were stationed in strange locations, such as just behind Diddy's chair and observing the aisle as if someone had tipped them off. Then Cassie came in. People turned. Quiet but strong, she wore a plain black dress with a white collar. With the devotion of bodyguards, her friends walked her to her seat, encircling her like a shield. Diddy had paid protection on one side. Cassie, however, had people who genuinely cared. Diddy continued looking at his phone, scrolling as if he was trying to avoid seeing it or looking for something. His face reddened with each swipe. His attorney had to forcibly remove the phone at one point. I saw then that Diddy's hand was trembling. As if they had just discovered a last clue, the prosecution was also behaving oddly, swapping notes, whispering behind folders, and huddled around a tablet. They knew that something significant was on the horizon. Diddy's top lawyer tried to steady him by putting a hand on his shoulder, leaning in and talking. Diddy, however, had no interest. Each time, he dismissed him. At one point, the lawyer had to hold onto the table tightly to prevent himself from falling. The judge's face said it all as she walked in. She was calm yesterday. She seems to have just learnt of an impending catastrophe today. She glanced to Diddy's table and leaned over to whisper something to her clerk, who picked up his phone right away. Diddy had previously seen the post, but nobody in that courtroom was aware of it yet. Justin Bieber had publicly backed Cassie just minutes before he walked in. It was too late for his team to conceal the phone. The damage was already done. The tension was nearly palpable as the bailiff called the court to order. The jurors looked at each other anxiously. She even shook when she reached for a cup of water, her hand clearly trembling. A big vein pulsed in Diddy's forehead as he sat beneath the table, bouncing his leg. In an attempt to divert his attention, his lawyer attempted to slide papers in front of him, but Diddy pushed them away while keeping his eyes fixed on him and his respiration becoming more rapid. It resembled witnessing a fuse blow. No one knew when or how strong the blast would strike, but everyone in that courtroom could feel it coming. And Diddy's perfect image became closer to crumbling with every second that passed.
Yeah, so, I just want to protect her, you know? I don't want her to lose it. I don't want her to, go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. So, if she ever needs me, just think about how young I was and so impressionable. And you have everybody telling me how awesome I am at all times, and
It's like taking a kid and putting a kid in a room full of nothing but sweets.
Right.
And just saying, I'll be back in 2 days.
Exactly. I just want people to understand, the psychology behind why I potentially could have problems in my life. So.
Meantime, let's talk about the fact that Combs' co-defendant in a civil case, a case, by the way, that accuses him and this co-defendant, another A-lister, of rape. This guy is once again slamming the attorney behind the case, insisting that he be sanctioned for allegedly not doing his job. We're talking, of course, about Sean Carter, better known as Jay-Z, once again calling out attorney Tony Busby, calling out his character, more specifically into question, claiming that the Texas attorney's filings have, quote, substantial. Now, we've talked about this before, but basically, a civil lawsuit was filed against Sean Combs on behalf of a Jane Doe who says that she was raped by Combs and another celebrity at a home after the Video Music Awards in 2000.
Amidst the tense atmosphere in the courtroom, an earthquake occurred on the internet. Justin Bieber made an unexpected social media bombshell in the midst of the trial hearings. His tweet was more than simply a light-hearted expression of sympathy for Cassie. It was a thorough, devastating declaration that rocked the music industry and sent shockwaves all the way to that courtroom. The treachery was a severe blow. Diddy and Bieber have a long history together. Everyone has seen the videos of Bieber attending Diddy's parties as a teenager. Diddy even boasts about being his mentor and helped him become famous. People therefore took notice when Bieber made his stance known. This was no nebulous act of compassion. Bieber became detailed. He recounted incidents at business gatherings where he witnessed Diddy abuse Cassie, including violently grasping her arm during a 2015 after-party, cutting her off in the middle of an interview, and outright talking over her in public. This was not a rumor. They were first-hand recollections. The post exploded during the first break. Screenshots were printed by legal assistants. Lawyers gathered to read it. People had to be reminded to turn off their phones by court employees. Some jurors, perplexed by the unexpected commotion in the hallways, even learned about the shift. The courthouse was awash with murmurs of pandemonium. A picture of Bieber and Cassie, grinning at a music event from years ago, was attached to the post. However, Cassie's eyes conveyed a different message. In what amounted to a confession, Bieber apologized for his silence and commended her strength in the caption. He stated, "I apologize for not speaking up sooner." The timing couldn't have been worse for Diddy. The message was viewed by 270 million followers in a matter of minutes. Headlines were already flying from news websites. This was no longer rumor, rather it was a celebrity endorsing a claim that would sway public opinion. This ripple turned into a wave within the courtroom. Reporters hurried. One ran to contact her editor, while another muttered, Did you see it? From the other side of the aisle, there were phones everywhere. A few looked at Diddy, anticipating his response. Others gazed at Cassie, who was composed and quiet in spite of the tempest that was building all around her. Bieber's remarks were profound. He referred to Cassie as brave and said that he had seen actions that bothered him, but at the time he had not fully grasped the pattern. He apologized for not seeing the warning indicators, for not recognizing the control dynamics that he could now plainly see. When Diddy's lawyer first saw the post, he took swift action to stop the harm, banning screens and requesting that staff members take away all of the devices. However, it was too late. Diddy had previously been shown. His eyes saw the television, became wide, and then, in an instant, his face broke. Everyone in the area witnessed it. The instant he became aware that the quiet had ended.
Years old, and I should mention he was signed by Usher to a label that was owned jointly by both Scooter Braun and Usher, and he was considered Usher's protege. He has been described Usher as his mentor. Justin Bieber is continuing the purge. He has now moved to his original mentor. So this is a very big story, and the reason why we should discuss this and we should not diminish what is happening, it's not celebrity drama. This is actually the fall of Babylon that we are witnessing, Hollywood Babylon, that is. He did an interview back in 2020 with Zane Lowe. I think this was on Apple Music. And he was speaking about another young artist that was coming up, Billie Eilish, and Eilish. And he was basically speaking about how he wanted to protect her because she was now another young person, a rising artist in the industry. And sort of out of nowhere, he became quite overcome with emotion. Take a listen.
Yeah, I definitely feel protective of her. It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second. So yeah, it's hard because I want her to know that, she can count on me. But at the end of the day, I'm never going to force myself to be in a relationship with her. It has to be natural, right? So I just kind of, let her do her thing. And if she ever needs me, I'm going to be here for her. But yeah, just protecting those moments because people take for granted.
I'm not even kidding. Watching that clip makes me emotional because he is saying so much without really saying anything. Protect Billie Eilish from what? From who?
Every aspect of Diddy changed when he saw Bieber's post. Pure shock came first, with wide eyes and a slack mouth. Then the treachery struck, and his brows furrowed. What came next, however, was worse, pure, boiling anger. His jaw clamped so firmly that you could practically hear his teeth grinding, and his nostrils flared. Reporters would subsequently learn that his hands started to shake from a woman sitting 3 seats behind. Diddy was unable to even hold the papers his lawyer handed him. Slipping, they flew to the ground like fallen leaves. Then, as soon as the entire courtroom sensed it, Diddy got to his feet. Not in a casual way. It seemed abrupt, tense, like a man about to blow out. Immediately, a neighboring bailiff, obviously prepared for such situations, moved forward. Then Diddy's venomous voice shook the front rows as he muttered, "After everything I did for that kid, loyalty means nothing anymore." His lawyer dragged Diddy back into his seat and whispered something urgent when he started to yell about consequences. But Diddy only shook his head and breathed deeply, as if he had just run up 10 flights of stairs. This unraveling was eventually depicted in eerie detail in court sketches. A man on the verge, bulging eyes and throbbing veins. In more than 10 years of covering trials, one sketch artist claimed that she had never sketched somebody with such unadulterated hatred. The chief prosecutor also took notice, notifying her aide, who crept out of the courtroom to call a witness ahead of schedule. Someone who could respond directly to Bieber's assertions. Security also changed, with guards quietly approaching Diddy. Not drawing it, but prepared, one even unclipped something from his belt. Diddy's polished courtroom manner disappeared. He had been so calm earlier, nodding now and then or making notes. He now twitched constantly, wiping his face with a trembling palm and tugging at his tie as if it were suffocating him. Diddy broke a water glass as he slapped his fist on the table, marking the tipping point. The room fell silent after the crash. He said to nearby court reporters, "I'll make sure he never works in this town again." They won't both. In an attempt to calm the tempest, his lawyer put his arm around him. The judge declared an immediate break and smashed her gavel. That respite, however, simply gave Diddy more time to stew rather than help him calm off. Cassie took the stand again when the court reconvened, but this time she was changed. Don't look down any longer. Unfazed by Diddy's glare, she stood erect, eyes focused. Unexpectedly, she started with fresh evidence. Diddy's 2016 text messages to her filled screens. In one, he sent 17 consecutive unanswered messages. That's the deal if you want to keep your career, said another, who insisted on knowing her precise location. There was an unnerving silence in the room. Cassie described how Diddy restricted her conversational options, particularly with male musicians. She claimed that Bieber was on the prohibited list. Diddy grabbed her arm in front of everyone and hissed, "You'll regret it," without providing an explanation when she questioned why. She never faltered in her speech. She described complete control, surveillance, and seclusion in plain terms. And Bieber's post was reflected in everything she said, not ambiguously, precisely. The moment, the words, the actions. It was chillingly aligned without feeling practiced. She informed the judge that it had been years since she had spoken to Bieber. Her response to the question of why she had remained mute rang out throughout the room. "He told me no one would believe me. He claimed to choose who succeeds in this field, and I have seen him ruin careers with a single phone call." Two jurors responded visibly. One wiped away tears, while the other heavily emphasized the remarks. Then the last straw, 2018 security footage. In the hotel lobby, it featured Cassie conversing with a male artist, until Diddy stepped up, put an arm over her, and escorted her out. Everything she had mentioned was reflected in the body language. Cassie continued after that. Dates, locations, and witness identities were all provided by her. March 8, 2017 at the Standard Hotel. June 22, Miami, and September 12, backstage at the VMAs. With increasing concern, Diddy's legal team frantically turned pages and whispered. Cassie dropped a scary comment just when the courtroom thought things couldn't get much more dramatic. "Even Justin knows what happens to people who cross me," Diddy remarked after she once talked to Bieber at an event. With Bieber now on her side, the warning sounded damning and dangerously real. Diddy broke down as Cassie continued to testify. His restlessness became agitated. He started whispering to his lawyer in a panic. That image of the cool, untouchable mogul. For everyone to witness, it was coming apart in real time.
And weeks after the initial filing, Busby submitted an amended complaint naming Jay-Z as the celebrity who allegedly participated. They wanted copies of these videos for themselves. And I've talked to lawyers about this before. There's a big advantage to having the electronic video, the electronic evidence yourself, right? You don't have to always go over to the other office. You can view the materials on your own. It's a way to better prepare for your defense. And Sean Combs' lawyers argue that under the federal rules of criminal procedure, electronic data that is in the government's possession, Judge Subramanian denied the defense's motion to amend the protective order, but without prejudice, meaning this issue could be revisited. So Subramanian's order reads, quote, "While the government objects to handing the videos over, they provide several options for a defendant to consider that would permit the defense to view the videos, access the information they're looking for, and even allow them to manipulate the video."
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they love me and, just turn their back on you in a second. So if she ever needs me, I'm going to be here for her. But yeah, just protecting those moments because people take for granted encounters, and I just want to protect her, I don't want her to go through anything I went through. I don't wish that upon anybody. Yeah, if she ever needs me, I'm just a call away.
Do you realize how important your story is? Every time I have a conversation with someone who's been through this unique type of experience, I'm searching for some kind of truth that can help.
I commend you for going there and asking the tough questions and the things that people don't want to talk about, and they don't want to go there because it's revealing, and I want people to take a look at my story, and hopefully my words can make a difference.
The prosecutor appeared with a folder just when it appeared that the tension had reached its climax. We're presenting information that plainly refutes Mr. Combs' allegation that Ms. Ventura made up her story, she said, Your Honor. She then linked her iPad to the monitor in the courtroom. As the screens flashed on, private texts from 2017 between Cassie and Justin Bieber were displayed. The room fell silent after one exchange. I don't know what to do anymore, Cassie had wrote. He keeps an eye on everything. He threatened to destroy my career if I spoke to anyone. Bieber's response was sharp. Cass, this isn't normal. What he is doing is unacceptable. You must speak with someone. That was it. The sound of wood squeaking against tile pierced the air as Diddy leaped out of his chair. His eyes widened and his cheeks flushed. Scene, don't do this, his lawyer said, grabbing his arm, but Diddy pushed him away with such force that he almost stumbled. All of this is false. Diddy aimed a finger at Cassie and roared. You are aware that's not the case. After everything I've done for you, where is your loyalty now? His voice continued to rise in a panic and rage. You are fabricating this, you too. The judge's gavel struck the floor 3 times. Mr. Sit down now, Combs, or I'll have you taken out. Diddy, however, was not about to back down. 2 security guards hurried forward, one putting a step between him and Cassie and the other encroaching from behind. Reporters were typing frantically. Some members of the jury were leaning back, while others were staring in shock. Diddy poked a finger at the screen as he turned. Those aren't real. Those texts were fake. This is a setup. Justin never stated anything. His yelling reverberated throughout the space. Despite his team's best efforts to contain him, the damage had already been done. These texts demonstrated that Cassie had confided in Bieber long before a lawsuit was filed and before the media or money were involved. The judge immediately ordered the jury's removal. Many of them couldn't help but stare at Diddy, who was still furious as they filed out. His shoulder was firmly touched by a guard. It briefly appeared as though Diddy might also push him. Instead, he froze, his eyes vacant, his breathing heavy. Reality set in. He had lost his famed poise. Judge Marla didn't mince words once the jury was out. With her gaze fixed on Diddy, she stood erect and said, Mister, this is not a recording studio. Combs, this is a court of law. Here you have no influence over what occurs. Her words were sharp as a sword. I will hold you in contempt if you have one more outburst. The remainder of this trial will be viewed from a cell. She wasn't finished. Before the session the following day, she requested a thorough mental health assessment. 2 guards would always be within Diddy's reach as part of the new security procedures. No more phones. Without a guard present, his lawyers were unable to communicate with him. His legal team appeared to have been struck by a truck. One lawyer wrote notes while sometimes glancing at Diddy, another made desperate calls, and the chief lawyer shook his head in shock, all of which shouted, We're in trouble. Their nonverbal cues were quite telling when the jury returned. One woman moved her chair out of the way. An elderly man who had been taking notes was now sitting rigidly with his arms folded. Most instructive. Juror number 8, the youthful expert who had grinned at Diddy on the first day, would no longer even look at him. On the other side of the aisle, the prosecution remained composed. The lead lawyer arranged her files calmly, occasionally giving Diddy a visibly pleased look. Behind her hand, the helper had to conceal a smile. The level of security increased. Diddy's chair had 2 guards behind it, who were no longer attempting to look informal. Another stood with his hand on his belt near the exit. The message was very clear. There would be no more opportunities. Experts in law whispered to one another in the gallery. He just lost the case, a veteran prosecutor said as he leaned in. A professor of law frantically took notes. Amateur hour, said a defense lawyer from a different well-known case, shaking his head. Cassie stayed still, calm and quiet, throughout it all. She didn't flinch when Diddy screamed. She did not blink at all. His meltdown appeared even worse because of her quiet. The difference was obvious. She was in charge. There was none for him. The difference was evident by the end of the day. Diddy had entered the courthouse that morning with a fitted suit, a smug air of assurance, and a high head. He was now slouched out, his eyes on the ground, his tie relaxed, and he was being followed by 10-year-old lawyers. The last blow. Diddy shook off his lawyer's gentle touch on his back, but this time he did so out of abject defeat rather than conceit. Character was at stake here, not just the evidence. Cassie remained composed under duress. Diddy unraveled. and Diddy's decades-long masquerade broke in the open when Bieber joined her. Now the most important question: who will come next? The door is wide open since Bieber broke the unwritten celebrity code. Diddy might not be prepared for what's about to happen, and more celebrities might be coming forward.